I invite you to speak the words in the first person. I am the face of God. I am the face of God. God is what I am. I am that I am. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know why I serve. I make a positive difference in the world today. So as we use this time for meditation, I'd love you to take a big deep breath and imagine that you're open at the top and open at the bottom, and that you're open to a new understanding of this, a deepening of this. So it's no longer just a theory, no longer an affirmation. But today, this day in January of 2019, I stepped into an embodiment of this spiritual teaching. That I aligned, that you aligned, and we atoned ourselves with the reality of I am the face of God. I make a positive difference in the world. And begin now using your own powers of love, of faith, of imagination, of zeal, of will, of understanding, of letting go, of power, of will, of peace, to imagine living this out into the world. And imagine what it would be like to accept differences, our spiritual ABCs. I accept differences. I don't have to like them. I accept differences. Be kind. Kinder to myself. Kinder in the face of unkindness. See, counting my blessings. Get a sense of living aligned with, active in counting your blessings. D, dreaming. What would be even better? How could I be even better? E, expressing gratitude, expressing thanks. Thankful for what I have. F, forgiving. Forgiving quickly. Forgiving purposefully. forgiving to free myself. G, giving. What will I give? Where can I give? Giving. Big deep breath. H, harming no one. Even though the temptation is there, the allure. Making a positive difference in the world to harm no one. I, imagine more. Imagine what can be. J, jettison anger. Regulating anger. K, keep in my own lane. L, love. Love without seeking. Love without demands. M, master something. Master from the gifts I've been given. N, nurture. Nurturing myself, nurturing others, nurturing hope, nurturing faith. O, open. Open at the top. Open, willing to learn. Open, willing to change. Open-minded. Open-hearted. P, pack lightly. Less baggage. Q, quell rumors, quell gossip, quell distractions. R, reciprocate. Make a positive difference in reciprocation. S, seek wisdom. Seek truth, what is true. Question. T, touch hearts. Get a sense of this. How you touch hearts. New ways of touching hearts. U, understand. To be the first to understand. Seek first to understand. V, values. I focus on my own values. What is important to me? Who have I come here to be? W, win. Win graciously. Win lightheartedly. X, extra miles. Extra steps. Y, a yearn for peace. Intentional yearning for peace. Moving in the direction of peace. And Z, zealously supporting what matters to me. Zealously giving and contributing to what matters to me, to where matters to me. Big, deep breath. Open at the top. Imagine your head and your crown open. Breathe in the ABCs of spirituality, a new way of being in the world. Imagining it going from your head all the way down through and out through the bottoms of your feet. Alive in your cells, in your bones, in the blood, in the oxygen, in all parts of our being, emotional, spiritual, physical, psychological being, these qualities, the truth of who we are as the divine. I'm making a positive difference in the world. Open your eyes as you're ready. I'm making a positive difference in the world. So look at the eyes of somebody beside you. Just look in their eyes a minute. And tell them, I'm making a positive difference in the world. I am making a positive difference in the world. Now look at them and tell them, you know what? You're making a positive difference in the world too. You're making a positive difference in the world. So give somebody a high five. Somebody's hugging and kissing. It's wonderful to see. Then we are making a positive difference in the world. We are. You could be anywhere in the world today, and you're here. You think that's by coincidence? Of all the places we could be, of all the places I could be, I'm here today. This day for me has been booked for over 1 year. For me to be at this spiritual center on this day in January for over a year. So I'm so humbled over and over and over again, not just how I get to serve, where I get to serve, and who I get to serve with. The coolest people on the planet. But especially humbled by when I'm appointed to be here. So it's kind of a boogery time, ain't it? Anybody here think you can control hurricanes? We can't control hurricanes, so what can we do? Control how I'm going to relate to this thing. I can control what I'm going to call this. I can control what I'm going to say about this. I can control some sensibility and going in the most sensible action I can take in response to this. And it's what you're doing as a ministry. It's what you're doing as leaders. It's what the leaders before us have done. Ron referred to Martin Luther King as one of the leaders. This anniversary, as we honor that, what went before us to make such change in the world that we get the benefit of today. And one of my favorite stories is that somebody actually spit on him. Do you know this? In one of those gatherings, they actually spit on him. How does that sound? Anybody here want to volunteer for that? And in the spirit of nonviolence, And then the spirit of living out what I'm preaching, we get some opportunities, you know. And he took his handkerchief out of his coat pocket and wiped it off of him and said to the man, "This belongs to you." Now, how would I be benefited today? How would you be benefited today to wipe the spit that's been put on us, to wipe that off and to put it back to where it belongs? What would that be like? Freedom? Let freedom ring. And guess who's in charge of your freedom? All together? You are. So I'm in charge of the freedom for this one. I'm in charge of this one's liberation. Then you're in charge, you're in charge, you're in charge. And then together we can do what we cannot do alone, as we learn from these leaders and then step into our own leadership. This is the quote that I like the most so far. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You do not have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subjects and verbs agree to serve. Ain't that a relief? You only need a heart filled with grace and a soul generated by love. So, can we do it? Yes. Can you do it? Yes. Me too. And my favorite Myrtle Fillmore quote is, "You have within you the God-given abilities to do this, now get at it." And my favorite Charles Fillmore quote, you may be the only church anybody ever attends. So what am I going to be the church of? Now, let's get a little real. Everybody excited about moving out of your beautiful, new, cherished building all together? Yes. No! Who voted? So there's loss here. This change. This tantrum. Like, we loved it here. We've been here a long time. It's big and beautiful, and look at the trees. And it was a dream. Then life says, yes. And there's another one. There's another one. So even as very, very scary as it is to leave something we love, and what your lives have been transformed in these walls, marriages, christenings, memorials, celebrations, joy, prayer, learning, letting go, transcendence. So give thanks for what this particular place has brought you. And get a sense, even if it doesn't want to. I don't want change. I don't want what's new. I don't want to be a block away. Something else is directing this. Have you noticed? So I can go kind of like, oh well, here we go. Or, oh well, here we go. Load up. I'll pick you up. What time? I'll put the sign up. You bring this. You bring that. Here we go. You don't have to like it a bit. Isn't that good news? You don't have to like it a bit. You don't have to love it. But something in you will just take the next step, the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So what if you could look forward to it just a hair? That even though you can't see what's next, you can't see, the mind is blurry and bewildered and confused, it can't see how it's all going to go, and the need to see, the need to know, the need to have the answers. If you could acknowledge that and go, we'll just take the next step. We'll start one Sunday at a time, then we'll go to the next Sunday, then we'll go to the next Sunday. So until this fog lifts, I can't think about what's way on down there. I got to think about what's 3 feet in front of me, what's 6 feet in front of me. I get a sense of being in that space, and then describe it. What would that be like? Say it out loud. What would it be like? Just inch by inch, Sunday by Sunday, going in the direction that life is calling us to. So we can either be impulsed toward it or drug. Which you gonna do? So we can be pulled by a new vision. We can be pulled by a new vision of what's next, what our next iteration is going to look like. And in the 90s, we had this much church. Then in 2000, that much church. Have you noticed? This is not just here now. This is in the industry. So then when we have this much church, we need this much church building. When we have this much church, we don't need this much church building. It's out of size, so to speak. So that's, any of you downsized your houses? Raise your hand. Look around. We downsize over the years. We keep a right sizing of our life. Like I don't need what I needed when I had a 23 knucklehead kids in there. So it doesn't require the same things for our next iterations. So what would it be to acknowledge the pain, the loss, the grief of that, to give some space for the grief of it, and not let the grief have you? What would that be like? Not denying, depressing, disowning, suppressing the grief, and not being controlled by it either. You've all done this in your lives. You couldn't have been here today if you haven't navigated some very high winds in life long before Michael. You're pioneers at this. You're the called, and you're the equipped. You're the equipped. You're the ones. And I'll support you any way I can through it. So if ever a time that I can be of some support to you, as Ron said, my mission in life is simple and clear: to serve those who serve. So I bow to you in your service here. And my dream and my vision is to get our teaching to the whole of the planet. So that's why it can be recorded. That's why it's on YouTube. That's why it's in podcast. So then we can reach this many this morning, and then together we can reach this many, and then eventually this many. So then this Unity Spiritual Center in Panama City is serving humanity globally, locally, and through quantum ways from a holistic perspective. There's nothing we improve about ourselves here that does not improve it for the species. So any conscious evolution I do is my contribution to the conscious evolution of the planet, of all people, of all things. So when it starts to feel a little heavy, There may be a reason. Like, our work is an important one. And our calling is one that will have to be fulfilled. Any of you tried to deny the calling before? Oh, no. After all I've done, after all I've done for God, after all I've done for my family, it won't leave us. Have you noticed? More ideas, more ways, more impulse, more call. So in the meditation, there's a little plaque. I stayed in somebody's house on the way down here, and this little plaque was in the hall. It was so struck by me because my guidance this year is to get back to basics. Back to basics. So in front of me is a sign of ABCs. ABCs. So look at making your own ABCs of spiritualities, not Martha Creek's, but your own. And how can I get back to my own basics? And how can I get my spiritual foundation back under me? Because I cannot be spiritually mature without being emotionally mature. So I'm going to have to do some good emotional work too in order to stay on a solid spiritual ground for myself. And I want to acknowledge you as a congregation for what you've already lived through. Decades, what you've done here to create this center. What you'll do to create a new center 1 block away from here. I want to acknowledge your board, or the board, if you could just stand for a minute. If you're on the board here, Ron, Rosa, these licensed Unity teachers and leaders, give these folks some extra love. Extra love. So think about, when geese fly, they fly in formation. The ones at the head take most of the drag. So every now and again, when you see these board members, you might just honk. Honk, 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 like be the wind beneath their wings. So continue to lift them up. Continue to do what you can to lift them up in their own leadership as they step into a higher calling and understand the importance of keeping themselves on strong spiritual and emotional ground. And then for those of you that have been around a long time, some of you have been here since Jesus was a baby. And others are new. And whether you're from that earlier time or this new time here, we've been called together at the same time. So even with that spectrum of history and culture, what we represent, the fact that we've been put together is an indicator that it's through the synergy of that and the synchronicity of that is where our power lies. So God bless you that you're here and that your commitment is here. So think about that today then as we make a positive difference in the world. Why is it you're here? Why are you here at this specific spiritual center? What is it about it that gets you to get up and dress up and drive over here again and again? What is it? Say it out loud. Love, service, family, positive, prayer, community, curiosity, presence, music, acceptance. Where in the world can people get this? What you're describing. So it's no little thing that you are the center of that for yourselves, for each other, for people. And is that a worthy enough cause for you to buckle it up and go into the next iteration, to be a place of love, family, community, culture, positive, affirmative prayer, support, curiosity, teaching, learning? Outstanding. The calling and the fulfillment of it. So, Who's holding the key to your freedom? This is good news. This is really good news. Does it sound easy to say, I freed myself today? It's like, you'll get a chance to practice before you leave here. Something won't suit you. And it'll be so tempting, so alluring to go into that tantrum. Ugh. Versus, hey, I'm liberating myself today. I'm moving in the direction of freedom today. And I can't go that way and back to that old way. I'm going to have to choose here. I'm going to have to choose freedom. I'm going to have to choose liberation in order to go in that direction. So please stay for the workshop. It is practical ways on how to do this. And it will look purposefully and intentionally at some of the boulders, some of the kind of stickier wickets that we have. And you'll have the tools you need to do it yourself. Doesn't create dependency on me as a facilitator or anything like that. And it's on a donation basis. So stay if you can. It's 2 hours. And if you can't stay, find your way to the work. Find your way to the teaching, one way or the other. So don't let the timing stop you from your own next step of liberation or your next step of freedom. So marthacreek.com is the website. The retreats I facilitate are listed on there. I'm in a different Unity church about every Sunday. That's listed on there. So if this teaching is resonant with you, help me get it to the rest of humanity by sharing that out there. There's also a free newsletter if you want that. There's also 70 YouTube videos, 100 podcasts. They're all free. So you can listen and learn, share it, use it in your groups, any way in the world that you can benefit from that or take that out into the world. I invite it because then you become co-inspirators with me to get our teaching to the whole of the world. And then there is a conference coming up in Unity Village, October 1 to 4, where there's speakers and teachers and leaders there and candlelight labyrinth walks, and we get to go into that high watch of prayer, in Silent Unity's high watch of prayer, and hold prayer while we're there, and drumming and other things. So that's at a group that I serve on the board called Antn, ANTN.org. And you can find that through the Martha Creek website too. So it's a way to get to Unity Village and to be into that beautiful grounds, and maybe bring a group or something if that is something that would give you something to dream about or to look forward to, or something else to click off your bucket list. Okay, big deep breath. I also do photography, and I brought some. It's on the back table there where Rosa is. So if you want to look at the photography, it's in a little book, and there's a few prints back there. And this has been on exhibit somewhere. And this is what was left after they closed the exhibit. People bought the pieces, and I brought them with me here. If you've got questions for me, hang around and ask. So close your eyes a minute. Take in something that you've heard today that you can embody. I am the thinker. I think the thoughts. The thoughts I think create my world. I change my thinking, I change my world. I change my thinking, I change my world. I change my experience of the world. I'm back to basics. I choose liberation, I choose freedom. Today's the day. I begin again. I do so on purpose. Blessings to you all. Godspeed as you go into your next iteration, the next grandest versions of yourself, yourselves, and of this beautiful spiritual community here. Godspeed.